It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talk Flicks podcast. I'm your host, Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. And ladies and gentlemen, this past week, I visited Starfleet Academy for the final time for a while. It was my final exam. So I went ahead and saw the last episode of Starfleet Academy for the season. And I'm going to get to that first couple things. I want to give a big shout out to Colombo, Sri Lanka. Got some plays over in Colombo this past week. Gracias, gratitude, and Colombo. I saw that you guys have a magnificent Buddhist temple there. I would love to see that. So one of these days, when I'm in Colombo, I'm going to have to go ahead and check out this Buddhist temple. So thanks for listening. Appreciate gracias, gratitude. And additionally, this episode is brought to you by my album called From Level 50 with Love. It's me rapping my unique style over synth electronic beats. I guarantee you never heard anything like in your life. So if you want to hear my album, From Level 50 with Love, I'll put it below. Check it out now. Let's get to the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 or 2 semesters, or whatever semesters at Starfleet Academy, the journey has come to a close, at least for the season. And let me just say this. I told you guys from the jump that this series was phenomenal. And I still stand by that. After the 10 episodes, I will say that this is really good Star Trek. This is really good TV. And I know some of the older Trekkers, like I said before, are not on board. And I'm sorry to hear that. But as someone that's been a long time Trek fan for many years, I do like the show. And additionally, me and my lady watched together, right? Prior to this, my lady just wasn't really, feeling as much. Nothing wrong with that. But this particular show, she's liking it, she's into it, she's digging it, and I dig it as well. And so, we saw last episode that Caleb Meir found his mother. Also last episode, the Federation was surrounded with, was the Element 74, 47, whatever it is, and it's possibly going to bring us back to the burn when people can travel across space because the space is all messed up. And so this was the danger that Nuck, whatever his name, put us in. And so let me just start with this. The performance of Paul Giamatti was absolutely masterful. Now, I've seen this guy in roles over the years. He's a phenomenal actor. And bringing his acting skills to the villain in Trek, Nuck, great. This is one of the best villain performances of all time. Yes, Paul brought it, bro, like straight up. I mean, I can feel the energy of his performances. Oh my gosh, it's done so well. He is one of the all-time great villains in Trek for real. This dude has range as an actor, and I was glad they brought him in to do Trek, and I hope he enjoyed his experience there. And hopefully we see him again in the future. That being said, in this particular episode, to quote all good things, Q, the trial never ends, Picard. Because in all good things, Q states that humanity is always on trial, right? And in this episode, you see it, like firsthand. Nuck puts the Federation and Nala on trial, for a lack of a better term. His former trial. And it's up to Starfleet and the Chancellor to go ahead and represent Starfleet and put those values to test, put the belief system to test. In the past 6 months, I've had my own morals and codes kind of challenged. My belief systems, my thoughts, my actions. Do you really believe it? And do you think this is a really good way to do it? Right? I understand that. Right? Starfleet lives by a certain code of morals, way of being, and basically Nuck just challenged that. So she was on the quotation mark stand, and she was challenged about the Starfleet way of life, right? Humanity, Starfleet, was on trial, right? And it got ugly. They exposed some of the ugliness of what happened in the Federation. Some of the nastiness. Like I said from the jump, during the burn, sometimes they had to make some challenging decisions. And this is not a new thing to Trek. If you go way back, there was a moment when Archer had to make a challenging choice. I can't remember which episode it is. But in the Enterprise, there was a situation where he had to make a really bad choice. Yeah, it happens. And also, Cisco makes a bad choice as well because for the greater good of the Federation and Starfleet. So this is not a new concept, but in the burn, I guess it got so bad that they just had to really make the best choices out of a bad situation. And so that is kind of challenged here. But in the now, they're trying to get back to those Picard era morals. When Starfleet was in a golden age, I would say probably that the Picard TNG era was probably the peak of the Federation, and then after that, things got a little ugly, a little muddy, right? It happens to empires, it happens to countries, even in our own world now. You look at where I live in the United States of America, it is different than it was in the past. Now, some say we're on decline, some say we're not. I don't know. I'm not a history buff, but some of these experts like Ray Dalio, if you know who he is, he's saying that, America's on the decline based on looking at history and stuff. And I'm not saying this is true. I mean, this is Dalio saying that, right? But I mean, all empires go through that, right? How do you weather the storm though, right? So let's just say that America is on the, downside. Okay, what do you do? I mean, if you're in a fight or you're in a cage or something, you get back up, right? You fall down, you get back up. What do you got to do to rise back up? So personally, for the Federation and for America, okay, we down, but we're going to get back up, right? I live here, so this country is great, and we're going to rise back up. What do you do during the storm? Do you fall, give up, or you keep going forward? So anyways, yeah. Did Federation make some mistakes? Yes, they did, of course. And Nala stood by that. She's like, bro, what you got? Bring it, come on. Let me know. Challenge these ideas and beliefs. Because honestly, as someone that's watched Star Trek for years upon years upon years, I stand by that this is the best franchise in all franchises. I think it's solidly entertaining, and it's also educational and positive and inclusive. And I'll put it up against any franchise on planet Earth. I've said that over and over again for years, and it's not always the popular choice. There's a lot of franchises, no disrespect, that don't bring like Trek, but they're not as popular as these other franchises, right? I don't care. I don't care what the popularity is. I don't care what the mainstream is. Trek is phenomenally good. Now, one additional thing too. This is the last episode of the season. I think there's a couple other seasons coming, also Stranger Worlds. But I heard that right now, there is nothing else greenlit as far as Star Trek is concerned as new Trek, which is making me somewhat uncomfortable because there's been changes at the companies. I don't know if you heard, but like Paramount has acquired Warner Brothers. So right now they're in transition of what they're going to proceed and put money into and create. But I would say this. In this particular company, Star Trek has to be at the top of their IPs. It's a very unique, powerful IP they have. And I would imagine they're probably going to do something. I don't know what's going to look like or what's going to be like, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, back to Starfleet Academy. This season's phenomenal. The show's phenomenal. The lessons are phenomenal. The characters are phenomenal. I felt Caleb. I felt his mom. There's moments in time where I was emotional, sad, teared up. This is, like I said, this storytelling is phenomenal. I don't want to give anything away with the plot. I would just say this. Final episode is basically mirroring real life, which Trek always does. Basically, Nuck is mad. He felt wronged, and he felt slighted, and he felt there was grievances. And then you also look at Caleb, mirror the same thing. Wrong, grievances. Also, Caleb's mom. Wrong, grievances, right? Now, the thing is, this is what I had to learn myself. Like, you can be angry about the past, grievances, and wrongs. Now, me as a human being, I've been wrong quite a bit. Many, many years, over a long period of time. I can't even count how many times that being in a weaker position where people in a higher position really took advantage of that. I mean, it's just not, I'm not crying, I'm just saying this happened. Now, do you hold on to that and keep whining and complaining, or you just try to, move on and change your life for the better, move forward? Now, my belief currently right now is the best revenge is being exceptional. So I'm not really concerned about all this past stuff, all this, whatever. It happened. I'm over it. I'm just going to be exceptional and do everything I can do to be the best I can be. Now, in this particular situation, Caleb lays out like Starfleet was good for him. He moved on. He changed his mind. He saw that, he improved himself, even though he might have been slighted. Well, he wasn't, even though he might have been. He was slighted. He lost his mom at his early age, right? But he just said, bro, I got to move past this, right? And a lot of the people I follow don't have that victim mentality. You got to push forward. I don't think bad things happen to everybody. Okay, I understand that. Horrible things, not good. But what are you going to do about it? You can't do anything about it. You got to push forward and move up. Now, Nuck couldn't get over it. And Nuck remembered thing as a kid that wasn't even accurate. He held on that trauma for so long, was so mad, it pushed him to do the things he was doing. And it can be a factor like that grievances, that motivation can push you to do actions that you would not normally do. You see it in terrorism around the globe. People holding grievances for things in the past. They just want to retaliate, right? I feel, to quote Gandhi, an eye for an eye makes everybody blind, right? I mean, you could do that all day. Well, I'm mad, get at you, you're mad, get at me, and it's endless, like Hatfield McCoy's, right? He's got to stop at some point in time, right? And Nuck wasn't over. He's like, I'm done, I'm going to get these guys. Where Caleb and the mom kind of said, okay, whatever, move on. And somehow you just gotta move on. And some people say, I'm giving up. I'm conceding. Maybe not. right? My belief system is what do you give your attention to, right? That's ultimately what you gotta do. So you can give attention to old things that happened in the past, or drama, okay, whatever. It's past, it's over, I'm past that. I mean, we're past that. That's one way to think about it. In this episode, this shows, what way you can move from having a bad experience happen to you. What path will you take? Right? It can destroy you or it can build you up, right? And they kind of deconstruct that in this episode. So anyways, as usual, Trek is phenomenal. I highly recommend that you go check out Starfleet Academy. It's great. Check out all Star Trek. Do not be disappointed. Like I said, it's the best franchise on planet Earth. So ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the podcast. Star Trek is over for a bit. We'll move on to CIA and other things, right? But Trek will be back, of course, and I will cover it again. I'll talk about it because Trek is the best. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, live long and prosper. Spock. Till next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks.